TV. My name is Jake, I'm your host for tonight.
We get great responses that, you know, the eyes have been opened to.
We're all special and individuals.
We don't wear brand labels. It's different.
In the Bible, it says in Matthew 5:23-24, it says,
This group has been around via Facebook. One of my friends
Cool thing to do at the moment, and like until you're married. Sometimes.
welcome to Saym TV. We're glad that you can join us tonight. My name is Jake, and on our panel tonight we have Shani, Sandra, and we have Shao. And tonight we'll be talking about body image, a topic that is well known and that you know of and you've seen on TV. And one that's happened lately is a girl named Demi Lovato. And this young lady is 19 years old, and she's just suffered from eating disorders. And she was at the MTV Awards recently, and she had a bit of a few haters, attacking her on Twitter and saying that she'd gained weight. And we have a picture of her somewhere, and if you look at the picture of this girl, she's just an ordinary girl. I wouldn't think that she was overweight, but that's how society sees body image these days. And so Demi, there we have Demi on the screen. What do you think, guys? Overweight? She need to go on Biggest Loser?
Definitely not, brother.
Oh, she's beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous.
So that's Demi, and like I said, she just came out of rehab from suffering from eating disorder, and to come back and to get back to normal and to get attacks from people on Twitter, you'd think that it won't help with her healing process. She's struggling with this thing, and then she does something good for herself, and then the guys are like, hey, you gained weight. I mean, she probably gained 500 grams by the looks of it, but it's not much at all. But we see that society has a certain image that you have to be, that you have to fit into to sort of be appropriate for magazines and things like that. And another guy that's on the topics recently is a guy named Shane Warne, a guy that's been on the media a lot, not for a lot of good things, but famous with his telephone and texting, SMS, but we won't go into that. But this guy got hammered because they're saying that he looks like a Ken doll. Now, I didn't grow up playing with dolls, but girls...
As in
what do you
Barbie's?
reckon?
Barbie Ken?
Yeah, Barbie Ken.
Oh.
So if I'm looking on the screen here, on our awesome picture that's on the TV, now, what do you reckon?
Oh dear.
He's lost some weight, but he
I
doesn't
don't know.
really
He doesn't look like a Ken.
I don't know.
No
Well,
way.
he even got people saying that he's had plastic surgery, and he's come out and he said, hey, I haven't had plastic surgery, but they still reckon he has. And now this guy, for those of you that don't know, he was a sportsman, so, a rough guy, into sports, and then now he's not playing cricket anymore, and he turns into this totally different person. So it's quite a change there that you see there now. Yeah, so you see with body image, now we've looked, you think that only girls struggle with this thing, but we see that guys get it just as much. And we see that with Shane Warne as well. And he's got a few, they've even hammered him on what he puts on Twitter. They reckon he's talking a bit, he says, junk feast today at golf, bacon sarnie, 3 sausages and bread, cheese sandwiches with a Mars bar on the way to 10th shower. Now then, black tie dinner. That's what he wrote on Twitter. Then later on that night, he wrote, now drinking red wine at function. Oops, hope jeans still fit tomorrow. So, this guy's a sports star, or used to be a sports star, and yet he's worried about, his image and whether his jeans will get it.
I must admit, when he came out he did a radio interview or something and they filmed him, I thought he looked perfectly normal. In fact, I thought it looked pretty good for, I don't know, however old he is. But he did not look as plastic as what they'd made him out in the magazine at all. In fact, he had wrinkles.
So you're saying we can't trust a women's magazine?
Nah.
This is revolutionary.
Photoshop, man. It's all out there.
Yeah, I guess it's different to what people are used to. It's quite a change because there are a lot of guys that dress like that, but they're not getting hammered for it because people are used to seeing them do it. And it'll probably be like Lady Gaga coming out and wearing normal clothes, and the media will be like, hey, this is outrageous.
Yeah.
So, there's that sort of thing there. Now, a few weeks ago, we interviewed a few young people about this topic, and they had a few interesting points that they shared with us on camera. And so we'll have a look at that now. What do you think of cosmetic surgery?
I don't know what that is.
Cosmetic surgery is like when people like get like things to change of their bodies, like girls get breast implants to make their breasts bigger. There's so much out there. What do you think of that?
I reckon it's wrong. Because I think we should be happy with ourselves.
It's very worldly and not being at peace with how you look.
I think it's on guys as well. I don't think it's morally right because it's sort of going against what God's given you.
Aging naturally is more beautiful.
It's easy for vanity to creep into our lives because there's an expectation of beauty out in the community.
I think we should just be happy with how we are.
Interesting. So they were talking about, cosmetic surgery and, how people are spending massive, amounts of money to get this to sort of fit in. Do you reckon just as much guys do it as well as girls? Like, we mentioned there, breast implants and things like that. Do you reckon guys go under the plastic like Shane was accused of doing?
Definitely. I watched some pretty scary show about plastic surgery, and I think it was just the worst cases, but it's crazy just how many, celebrities and stuff guys actually do go under, to have things done, cheek lifts and all that crazy stuff.
But even hair loss as well, that's a big thing that's being advertised a lot in media recently about hair rejuvenation and all this sort of stuff. And even Shane Warne, I mean, he was on the adverts for a bit, you know what I mean? This is also stuff that is affecting people from what they see in the media. They see people with, thick hair and, it looks so amazing and they, are starting to thin out a bit and, they get a bit self-conscious and they want to do something about it. So I think that comes into it as well, particularly for men.
Problem is it's not real. The image is, this perfect image just doesn't exist. And, it's so much pressure. I mean, if you look through the magazines and you think, oh, they look so perfect, they're so beautiful, and it's very easy to get sucked into it.
Yeah.
I think
it's very much like one of the ladies said on the interviews. She's like, there's a lot of pressure. It's a very high standard, but at the end of the day, it is an unrealistic standard. Because a lot of the models and a lot of the, they starve themselves for days and days and days because that's their job. Their only job is to have the six-pack, to have whatever else. And they go on starvation diets for days and days before their photo shoots and they get pixels enhanced and things like that. So it's unnatural, unrealistic.
How would you be though, not being able to eat for that long?
It's stuff like demineralized water and all this kind of stuff as well. It's nasty.
Yeah,
it's nasty.
Great. Well, you can count me out of the modelling industry, trust me. But, it even comes to skin colour as well, skin tone. Yeah. They have tanning salons out there and people think, okay, it's only girls that, rock up to these tanning salons. And, where I work, there's actually a tanning salon right next door. And I had a friend who worked at a tanning salon as well. And she said just as many guys rock up to get a tan as well. Now, I'm naturally brown, so I don't visit those places. But it's surprising like that, because I would think that only girls would go in and, change their, skin tone a bit, get a bit of a tan. But it's actually the blokes that do it as well.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, it's crazy.
I must admit, what's really scary as well is that how it's coming at a younger age as well. Like, have you ever heard much about those child pageants or something like that?
Yeah.
They're getting these kids into the whole modelling crazy stuff. I mean, yeah, they say it's harmless and it's good fun, but still, I reckon that starts the process as well.
You always see those same childhood stars that it wasn't affected. You see them as these like prom queen kind of drama queen things when they're 15. You're like, yeah, no, sure, it didn't affect you. No. I don't know.
Well,
interesting.
A lot of that stuff, like tanning salons, they think that it becomes an addiction as well. So implanting it while they're young, beauty pageants, as they grow older, there's that need to do it more and more and ongoing. So yeah. Well, thanks a lot, guys. We'll switch over to our music segment now. And on our music segment, we have Nathaniel and Rachel. And they're just going to do a music review. So we'll hand it over to them.
Hi guys, I'm Nathaniel.
And my name's Rachel.
And we're your media review team. We thought we'd kick off first episode with reviewing Newsboys' latest album, Born Again.
Yeah, the Newsboys have been around since 1985 and they're a group of 4 Christian rock guys who have originated up in Queensland, and this is their latest album, Born Again. It's a really uplifting album. All their tracks are really fast and upbeat, which are really easy to listen to.
They have a very a pretty big history as well. This is their 15th album. 6 of them have actually hit gold in the Christian aspect. I'm not a very big fan of light to medium rock, but I found these guys quite easy to listen to, and the songs are really catchy, easy to learn and repeat to yourself and sing. And the lyrics, like you said, are quite uplifting. We've got a bit of a demo for you guys to listen to of one of the songs from this album, the cover song "Born Again." So have a listen to this.
Tell you what I believe. Oh, this is what it is. This is who I am. This is where I finally take my stand. I didn't want to fall, but I don't have to crawl. I met the one with 2 star hands, giving him the best of everything that's left of the life inside this.
So yeah, Newsboys, check him out, and until next time, have a great night. Back to you guys.
I love that album. That's good. So back to body image. Now, everyone knows someone or themselves have faced with negative body image. Now, what do you think negative body image is? What other people say about you, or what you think?
I think it's what you think, because I mean, how you perceive, how important you perceive their perception of you is. I think that's definitely, it stems with you. I mean, you're not going to be able to control what other people think ever, You can only control what you think. I think that's where the positive or the negative comes in. You can adopt a positive attitude towards it or a negative attitude towards it, so.
You can decide to listen to what someone thinks about the way you look, or you can decide to follow how you feel about the way you look. Advertising is absolutely massive, and particularly for young people nowadays, it's got a huge impact on the way they look at themselves. And most of the time, particularly for girls, I know, lots of friends, myself sometimes, I mean, we look in the mirror and we're like, oh gosh, put something else on. That's it, You get this wrong idea of yourself, and you take a step back and you're like, what am I doing here?
It's so easy to get sucked in, and it's in your face, it's everywhere you go. It's such a big influence on our lives, and that's a really sad thing, that such a negative such a negative sort of a look, an image of perfection that no one can reach. That's our biggest influence. I mean, how sad's that?
No, for sure. I'd agree completely.
Yeah, it's part of growing up as well. You grow up seeing. Well, I loved wrestling when I was growing up. WWE, WWF. Back in the day. You'll see those guys and you'll be like, oh man, I want to grow up and I want to have a body like that. And so more personal stories, and people that that have come across this, like myself back in high school. We always used to try and go to the gyms at lunchtime and pump the weights, and even though most of the time you look at the mirror and just
cry.
And you don't see the results, but for the time you just look at the mirror and it looks good for the moment, but you're influenced by that, and you want to strive for that. So do you guys?
Yeah, I must admit, it's quite scary when I had a friend who went through anorexia, and her biggest goal was the City to Bay fun run, and she just had to be fit for that, had to get fitter. And I mean, if the amount of exercise that she was doing, it was okay, but she wasn't eating enough to compensate or make the difference up. And just to watch her from the very beginning of this dream, and just to see it unfold, from her not eating at school to then just losing and pushing away all her friends, and then from there just into hospitalisation. And I remember walking into the hospital and seeing her. I didn't even recognise her. She looked so thin and so frail, and it was quite a scary thing. And to see a friend go through that, it just shows just how bad of a bad influence those images and things can be on a person. It can ruin lives, and it doesn't only affect that individual, it affects their family, their friends, and everyone around them.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's an interesting point, Sandra, about she had the right mentality initially. She had that goal of being in the City to Bay run, but she took it that next level and she kept on snowballing. And I think it's really important that, particularly with body image, you have a balance. You can be critical but in a positive way. So, you know, oh, okay, I'm looking a little bit, you know, chunky today. I can, you know, cut back on the ice cream I had. You know, there are things you can do to balance it, but not, you know, overhaul that whole process.
And the problem is sometimes we can't even help the way our bodies work. You know, you can be eating a good diet, but, you know, just by the fact you're not doing as much exercise or you're a bit stressed from, say, study or anything like that, your body changes all the time. And unfortunately, society doesn't cater for that.
Yeah. I always say it in terms of time management as well. I mean, like Jake was saying, you want to look like Kurt Angle at the end of the day. You know, you've got to put some serious hours in the gym. You know, I always think of it. You know, other things will suffer from that. You know, my relationship with other people will suffer. My relationship with other things. You know, whatever it be, it's going to suffer if you invest too much, an unhealthy amount of time into something. At the end of the day, just to look good. I mean, I don't know. That's a little sad, I think. Yeah.
And far out in the end, we're all going to get old and looks fade. I mean, what's the point in, spending all that time working on your figure when you're just going to lose it in the end? I mean, it's personality that counts.
I gotta say, we'll get new bodies in heaven, so I'm looking forward to that. But thanks for that, guys. So now we'll cross over to our science segment, and we have Artie and Ebony. Over to you guys.
Hi, I'm Artie.
I'm Ebony, and today we're looking at body image.
What we found is that, in general, people tend to be a certain type of person that they feel they can't be themselves, and people are impacted by many things like their friends and social groups and just their peers.
There seems to be all these rules and regulations and telling people who they have to be, what they need to look like, and ultimately just the person that they need to become.
And to better explain this sort of idea, we want to try and do a bit of a science experiment here. And so what we have is copper wire, and this is meant to represent you. Okay, and so we're just going to pop that into there.
We've also done this one here earlier, and this is an...
the solution that it is a silver nitrate solution. And so what's happening is there's a reaction occurring at this point. But what I'd like to address is this particular solution is meant to represent a certain situation where you feel as if you can't be yourself.
This one is water, as we've already discussed, and it represents a situation where you are feeling like you can be yourself.
Yeah. And as you can see here, what's occurring is a redox reaction, and so the copper is actually reacting with the silver, and the silver nitrate is plating itself onto the copper, and as you can probably see, it's started to form this really furry kind of solution, like
crystallization.
Yeah, a bit of a crystallization happening there.
So, what will happen if we mix up these solutions?
Okay, if we distort it a little bit, let's have a look. So yours stayed the same. And this has started to turn very ugly. And so what we kind of want to get at is that when you're put under this pressure, you're put in this situation where you're not yourself. And then
I guess you're feeling some kind of fake beauty.
Yeah, exactly. It was starting to look really nice with the copper, with the silver plating itself onto the copper, and just a small little mix has
disturbance can make it come crumbling down. So I guess what we're trying to say, guys, is here in this world, it's really hard to be someone that is in a situation that is to be someone else. You need to be yourself. And that's what the water is representing in this science experiment.
Well, that's actually all we have time for in the lab, but we thought we'd just end you with a bit of a quote.
By Frank J. Giblin. Be yourself, who else is better qualified?
That's awesome, guys. Thanks for that. It's probably one of the most interesting science classes I've ever had. I must admit, I didn't really enjoy the science. Sorry to all the science teachers out there that tried to teach me. But, oh, sorry, bro, you're a scientist. Hey, well, you know, they say the average person looks in the mirror 5 or 6 times. Now, let's be honest. How many times do you guys look in the mirror a day?
Oh,
depends if I'm having depends whether I'm having a good day or a bad day. I think during year 12, you know, you're doing a lot of work. I tried not to look at the mirror too much, you know. Just get you a little more depressed each time. But I don't know. Definitely, I don't know. 4 or 5 times is about for me. I reckon. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Usually, exactly. You know, if there's a window reflection. Oh yeah, I think I might fix my hair. Yeah, that'll do. You know. I don't know. I don't really have a count. Don't know.
That's crazy. What about you, Shani?
Yeah, it depends where the mirrors are placed. If they're placed strategically, then I may happen to look at myself as I walk past. So probably about the five times.
Yeah, 5 times. I know, right? Myself, probably around the same. I'm sure before we leave home, we look at it about 3 or 4 times before we actually leave the house. But it just shows how mindful people are on what they have to look like when they're about to. I mean, people want to look good, no doubt about that. But when it comes to a point where it's excessive and you do it all the time, and I mean, because now and then you check the mirror, just make sure your top button's done, or for the blokes anyway. But make sure your hair's in the right place. But you get some people that probably look every 10 seconds. So yeah,
it's all about the balance.
Yeah, that's it. Got to have a balance. Well, now we have our health segment. And we have Shani, so we'll cross over to her and we'll see what healthy tips she has for us this week.
Hi, my name's Shani and welcome to the health segment. What if I said you could add up to 10 years to your life? Having a long and healthy life is no accident. It begins with good genes, but it depends on a good and positive lifestyle habits. Experts say that the right lifestyle habits are the key to increasing your life even up to a decade. Scientists have discovered that in Sardinia, Italy, Okinawa, Japan, and in Loma Linda, California, residents there live up to 10 years longer, and they suffer less common diseases that affect most of the developed world. So what's the formula for success? Regular exercise, a vegetarian diet, and non-smoking does predict longevity, according to experts. So if you follow like this, there are many other benefits such as weight loss, and it's usually more of a long-term goal. So if you want to try out this longevity, why don't you try it for yourself? Why don't you swap perhaps a McDonald's meal for a home-cooked meal? If you have McDonald's 3 times a week, then swap it once a week and then go up from there until you're always eating home-cooked meals. What a treat. So why don't you try the swap and start to feel the difference for yourself. This has been Shani on the health segment. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Shani. That was some useful gym, helpful tips. I had a cousin in Brisbane I went to see, and we went to the gym and did an awesome workout, lifting up heavy weights, and then he took me to Hungry Jack's later. So apparently that's not the way to go. So guys, we've looked at how society views body image. We've looked at even personal stories, close mates, or even ourselves. But let's look at what the Bible says about body image. Let's see what God says. And Genesis 1, chapter 27, it says, "So God created human beings in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them." What do you think of that?
Beautiful. Means we're all unique.
Yeah. The bit, like coming from a science sort of background, the bit that strikes me personally for that is that's what creation holds for me over evolution, is the fact that there's a value to your life, there's a value that you have, and I think that relates very much to how you perceive yourself and then how that relates to your behavior with body image and things like that.
So we're created in, the image of God. And I think one of the young people that mentioned it on the video that we interviewed, it's like saying, God created us and we're not happy with it. Like, no, that's it, I want to make my own adjustments, go under the knife. But here's another one, John 1:12. Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. So that's, another, positive verse to say that, our worth, comes out because we're children of God. And because we're children of God, and in John 3:16, a verse that we're familiar with, for God so loved the world that, he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever shall, believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. But he loved us so much, and we're his kids, they even sent his Son to die for us. Now, for someone to do that, it means we're pretty important. For a God, who created the universe to send his Son to die for us. And for us to say, oh, no, we're not good enough. We're going against God's word.
And the other thing is that, God doesn't make junk. And, when we do things like plastic surgery, or we stress about the way we look and we take an obsession, to all that kind of stuff, it's almost a slap in the face, really. Telling God that, no,
you're perfect isn't perfect
yeah,
enough.
Exactly. And how can you get more perfect than God?
That's awesome. Well, guys, that's how all we have time for. And I'd just like to thank you guys for being on the panel today and just opening up your minds and your hearts and what you guys thought of this topic. So I'll give them a round of applause. So, guys, thank you so much. And we'd like to thank you for joining us today. And, we've talked about a lot of, things this evening. And we just want you to remember that your worth is not determined by what other people say about you. And that God loves you so much that he sent his Son to die for you. So that's a pretty big thing. And if God cares for us so much that he sent his Son and he thinks that, we're valuable, then all the negative comments that people say about us are invalid. So hopefully you go through this week. Have a great week. And remembering that, you are worth more than what people say about you. Join us again next week, same time, same place. Peace.